Welcome to the Quotive Corner. Today's quote is one of those lines that almost sounds like it's bragging, until you realize it's actually saying something much more interesting than that. When I was a child, my mother said to me, "If you become a soldier, you'll be a general. If you become a monk, you'll be the Pope." Instead, I became a painter and wound up as Picasso. That's Pablo Picasso, quoted in Life with Picasso by François Gillot, published in 1964, a memoir by the woman who lived with Picasso for nearly a decade and documented their life together in extraordinary detail. Picasso himself needs little introduction. Widely considered one of the most influential artists of the 20th century, co-founder of Cubism, creator of Guernica, a man who didn't just participate in the history of modern art, but largely defined it. What's less often discussed is the specific way he thought about his own path, and what this particular quote reveals about that. On the surface, it reads as pure confidence, almost arrogance. My mother believed I would rise to the top of whatever I chose. I chose painting. I became Picasso. The end. But read it more carefully and something more layered emerges. His mother's formulation is worth considering first. She wasn't saying he would succeed in painting. She was saying he would succeed at anything. That the quality she saw in him was not domain-specific. It wasn't a gift for art. It was something more fundamental, a capacity for complete commitment, for total engagement, for becoming what he did rather than just doing it. The specific path was interchangeable in her framing. The trajectory was not. And Picasso's response, "Instead, I became a painter," carries a word that is easy to rush past. Instead. Not and, not also. Instead. The choice of painting wasn't an addition to the available options. It was a departure from the respectable ones. General and Pope are comprehensible, legible forms of greatness. They sit inside recognizable institutional structures with clear ladders and understood destinations. Painter, in the context of a child's future, is something else. A path without a guaranteed ladder, without an institutional structure to climb, without a title waiting at the top that anyone's mother would automatically recognize as arriving. What Picasso is describing in a single sentence is the compounding return of complete commitment to an authentic path, not the comfortable path, not the path most likely to produce a recognizable form of success, the path that was genuinely, irreducibly his, and the result, wound up as Picasso, wasn't a title he was given. It was a category he created. General is a rank. Pope is an office. Picasso is a proper noun that became its own definition of what it meant to be at the top of a thing. That distinction is the heart of the quote. The most extraordinary outcomes in any field tend not to be produced by people who climb the existing ladder to its top. They're produced by people who went so deeply into their own particular way of seeing and doing that they built a new structure entirely, one that the next generation then tries to climb. Picasso didn't become the greatest painter within an existing tradition. He broke the tradition, redefined what painting could be, and in doing so made himself into a reference point that other painters are still navigating around more than a century later. That kind of outcome, becoming a category of one, is almost never the result of trying to be the best version of what already exists. It's the result of following your own genuine vision far enough, and with enough complete commitment, that you arrive somewhere nobody else has been. This connects to something we discussed in a prior episode. Kierkegaard pointed towards this: the observation that if you judge yourself by the outcome before you begin, you will never begin at all. Picasso couldn't have known, as a child choosing painting over more legible paths, that the outcome would be Picasso. He knew what he was, a painter, and committed to that completely. The outcome followed the commitment. It didn't precede it. There is also something worth naming about the role his mother played in this story. She didn't say you should be a general or a monk. She said, whatever you become, you will rise to the top of it. That's a specific and remarkable thing to say to a child. Not a directive about what to pursue, but an expression of faith in the child's capacity to excel at whatever they genuinely chose. She was offering unconditional confidence in his trajectory, not conditional approval of a specific destination. And that distinction, between a parent who prescribes the path and one who expresses faith in the walker, matters enormously for what a child is able to risk. Freud noticed that boldness arrives with the certainty of being loved, that genuine security produces the willingness to act without guarantees. Picasso's mother gave him exactly that, not a map, a foundation. And from that foundation, he was able to choose the path that had no guaranteed destination and go all the way into it. Now, the honest counterpoint, because this show earns nothing without it. The quote, taken carelessly, can be read as a justification for any unconventional choice, as if commitment alone, directed at any path, produces extraordinary results. It doesn't. What Picasso is describing is genuine, deep, specific talent matched to genuine, deep, specific commitment over a lifetime. Those two things together produce the outcome. Commitment without the underlying gift produces something different, and the gift without the commitment, which is far more common, produces the long list of talented people who never became what they might have been. The quote also describes a life that costs something. Picasso's path produced extraordinary work and also extraordinary personal failure in other dimensions. Relationships damaged, people hurt, a private life that by most accounts was complicated at best. Becoming Picasso, the artistic category, the historical figure, didn't come free. That doesn't invalidate the achievement or the quote's insight, but it's worth naming honestly, because the romantic version of complete commitment to a singular path tends to omit the price. What the quote is genuinely offering at its most useful is a reframe of what success actually looks like when it's real. Not climbing the most recognizable ladder, not achieving the most legible title. Going so completely into what you actually are that you become something the existing categories don't quite cover, that's not a guarantee. It's not even a strategy exactly. It's more like a description of what happens when someone stops trying to fit their particular gift into an available mold and starts letting the gift define its own shape. His mother saw it in him before he proved it. He proved it by going all the way in. The question worth pondering isn't what path leads to the most recognizable success. It's what you would go all the way into if you trusted, the way Picasso's mother trusted, that going all the way in was enough. Thanks for spending a few minutes here at the Quotive Corner. If this one made you think about a path you've been treating as less serious than the legible ones, and whether the legibility is the wrong standard, that's worth considering. And as always, remember that wisdom isn't in the quote, it's in the reflection. See you soon in the next one.